This is the time of year when most people's minds start to turn towards the coming holiday period and start to think positively about what next year might bring and some of the things that they might look forward to. And it's in that spirit that I want to talk this afternoon. I think it was to some extent put into a little bit of negative perspective by an announcement in this morning's newspaper that the Wellington City Council wasn't going to do Christmas this year. We were not apparently going to have the range of decorations and other Christmas accoutrements that we're used to because they're getting a bit worn and untidy, and the council doesn't really feel like replacing them. But I'll leave that Grinch-like attitude aside. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin immediately by acknowledging all of the people that make this community tick. The members in this House, their staff, the library staff, the media, the cleaners, the messengers, the security people, the catering staff, the drivers who bring people to and fro, everyone who has an association with this building. Your office, Mr. Speaker, the clerk's office, all of the people that make Parliament the community that it is. This is a time to acknowledge their contributions and to wish them well for the year ahead. Mr. Speaker, I want to also pay a tribute to Holly Walker. I thought she gave a magnificent speech this afternoon. I thought that, while I might have disagreed with one or two of the specific points that she made, that the spirit in which she delivered it, which was really about optimism and hope for the future, is the sort of spirit that all of us should be nurturing at this time of year. This is the time when we talk about wanting to be with our families, we talk about wanting to be with our friends and those who are close to us, and we talk about wanting to spend some time winding down, relaxing and preparing for the challenges ahead. And Mr. Speaker, I think the challenge is to actually walk the talk, to make sure that we do that, to make sure that we recognise that for most New Zealanders, the next couple of months is largely a politics-free zone. They will have their discussions over the barbecues and at the beach, but they do not want to be intruded upon by politicians grandstanding over the summer period because they've frankly had enough of that for the last 8 or 9 months or a little longer. So, Mr. Speaker, as we wind this parliamentary year to a close, it is important to reflect upon a number of things that have been achieved, a number of challenges that have been put out there and faced up to, but also the work that needs to be done in the future. New Zealand at the moment is in a rather extraordinary position. We've come out of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We now see some very optimistic forecasts for prolonged economic growth beginning this year and moving next year and beyond. And the challenge, as always, will be how we as a society work to harness that growth in the best interests of ensuring A, its continuity, and B, that opportunity flows from that for the people of our country. Mr. Speaker, it is worth recalling, and this is a tribute, I think, to the work of this government in particular, but also its predecessor at the tail end of its reign, that New Zealand never, ever stooped to the pits that other countries did in terms of indebtedness, in terms of high levels of unemployment, in terms of levels of social dislocation. I think many New Zealanders don't appreciate that and still feel that things were difficult and stressful for them here, and they were in many parts. And I know it's a limp excuse to say that they weren't as bad as they were in other countries, but that is also the truth. Mr. Speaker, that is because successive New Zealand governments, while they have their political differences, also, despite the rhetoric that occasionally gets bandied around in this House, have a sense of pragmatism and do operate in what they perceive to be the best interests of their citizens, and by and large, and it's probably the best you can hope for human beings, by and large they get it more right more often than not. Mr. Speaker, that is a good basis for sensible, pragmatic government for the future. And it's one where I think New Zealanders want to see themselves positioned. There will be changes of government from time to time, but actually those changes themselves are fairly constrained. New Zealanders have no love of the extremes. And where the extremes start to emerge in politics, be they the left or the right, they are rightly, quickly, properly pilloried and destroyed. And I think next year and the next cycle will be no different from what's happened over the last 80 or 90 years in New Zealand. That at the end of the day, when New Zealanders come to cast their votes and make their choices for the future, they will bear in mind some of the sentiments about the aspirations for their family, for their children, that Holly Walker spoke of. They will not be as interested in some of the sledging, the grudging, the sort of the silly banter that goes on in this place and pretends to be sophisticated argument. Because for most New Zealanders, what their challenge in life is about is getting on for themselves, getting a decent start for their kids, some opportunity and the chance just simply to enjoy themselves when this time of year comes. Mr Speaker, my profound hope for New Zealanders over the summer period is that we are able to have a good break, that we are able to enjoy some good company, some good fellowship and just some good laughs with the people who are special to us, and that when next year recommences and gets underway, we come back reinvigorated for the challenge that lies ahead. We come back more confident about our country's long-term future and direction. We come back determined to play our part. Mr Speaker, my very best wishes to all members of this House, even the member who's interjecting at the moment, to their families and friends, and to all of the people of my electorate and New Zealand. May 2014 bring you all the things you wish for.
Honourable John Banks.
Mr Speaker, I think a